What up, Super Fun Force? Let's take a look at beybladeburst Dynamite Battle Ultimate. And let me tell you why I think this is the best format ever. First of all, I will say my other favorite one is, of course, GT. GT that includes playing Beyblades all the way up until GT and nothing past that in terms of parts. And again, there's a lot of Chosi and a lot of great GT layers. Overall, I really enjoyed the diversity. They gave us so many frames. They gave us so many gimmicks, and not to mention had a fantastic anime series that covered both drum and vault, and even Iger. We got to see a bunch of cool characters, from the people like Ken in the American, translated version, to people like the of course the Rock Devore brothers, Honcho, Boss and stuff like that. So there was a lot to like about the GT series, and again, as far as an overall series with the anime and the bays, it is my favorite because so many of my favorite bays come from the Chosi era, and then end up in the GT area to some extent. Not Excalibur, unfortunately. Did Excalibur? No, I think Excalibur did. Anyways, I don't want to digress too much, but overall, GT is my favorite. However, there was a lot of imbalances, but there were a lot of cool gimmicks. So I think that when the meta shaped for GT, we got to see, a pretty good amount of 5 or 6 dominating Beyblades. But even though that was a pretty healthy meta played a lot, both in Japan, both in America and other places and in different formats, I still have found combinations that weren't really played or explored that can beat what many consider to be the top tier combinations. So I still think that'll be another video, but I still think GT is obviously always going to be a great format to play in. Now, focus on Dynamite Battle. Dynamite Battle, I'll just say it again, I wasn't a big fan of the anime. Definitely didn't like the main character. However, these bays have been phenomenal for the most part in terms of being balanced. They took a lot of things from the previous gens, as you know, with the Ultimate Valkyrie, and they tried to evolve them into this kind of final form. And although I have criticisms with certain Beyblades as to how they could have actually been better, Excalibur or even Ultimate, for the most part, they did a fantastic job. And what I feel like is the strongest point of Dynamite Battle, very simply put, is the power balance across the board. Now, there hasn't been quite, due to all kinds of different circumstances, the prevalent tournament scene, not a lot of local battles and stuff like that, is starting to come up again. But, there's not really this dominating meta that we've seen coming from, either Japan or other parts of the world or America. But what I will say is that I guarantee you, when you start playing Dynamite Battle as a whole, up to BU and everything, and you take a look at the dominating Beyblades, I feel like any combination you play, you have to look at 4 specific Beyblades no matter what. For the 2 right spins, you have to look at stamina defense for the Dynamite F gear and then Prominence Phoenix. For left spin, you have to look at Vanish and then Roar Bahamut. However, when you play in the Dynamite Base Stadium, which is what, again, I recommend, only play Dynamite Battle in Dynamite Battle stadiums. Please don't go back to the standard stadium for GT and stuff like that. It's just too small, right? People think that it's skewed to always favor defensive stamina. Well, I say that people haven't really explored the true potential of building new and improved attack type Beyblades, and I'll get into that in another video. However, true, you always have to start by looking at what is stamina and what is defense, because after all, at the end of the day, Beyblade is going to be about the last Bey standing, or in this case, spinning. So you got to always kind of start to look at, well, what Beyblades will spin the longest, what energy layers, what drivers, what forged discs help that, and then how do they improve their balance of defending, or being stamina based, and then how do you build Beyblades that can possibly attack, burst, knockout, or just straight up stop and sap all the stamina from those type of Beyblades. Well, basically what I want to say is, even if you play in a format where you have to only, let's say, bring 3 Beyblades and you can mix and match all the parts, you can definitely narrow it down to what can be considered the best attack parts, and then, defense parts, and then have to have one that maybe is good for attack. And I think that's fine. But the reason why I don't recommend you play that way is because you are narrowing down the parts to just very, very few to be considered the best when they're not necessarily the best, right? In all situations and matchups. But then it basically defeats the very purpose of Beyblade, which is to be able to play with a lot of different parts, balance personal expression with your strategies and your custom combinations, right? So again, if you play by 3G and you play by 5G, especially in the format that I speak of, where you do more of a point-based system and you battle every single Bey, then you truly get to experience, in my opinion, the best aspects of Beyblade, right? Because you get to formulate a team, You get to put together strong combinations that you can test out against other strong combinations that people are playing and know that you have a good chance. And then you can strategically line up your team. And then, of course, just like anything else, there's a little bit of RNG, right? Of like what matchups happen. Fine, whatever. But at least, again, you'll get to play all your Beyblades. You get to use a lot more of your parts. And if you only were to say, oh, I can only bring 3, then you definitely will never be able to always play with what you want. And at the same time, if you're limiting yourself to only the 3, setups here that you can interchange parts, then yeah, it might still be like, well, it's always better to build like defense stamina or something like that. Or, maybe, I don't know, maybe I might be a disadvantage because if I want to bring 2 attack types, I can't really do that because if everyone is playing like, drift, metal drift, bearing, dash, then it's kind of like, well, left spin, right spin, I can only do one or the other, like it's kind of hard to balance it to be something you can enjoy with multiple parts, right? Now that format, like I said too, isn't horrible, it has its benefits and stuff like that, but it's also time consuming, right? And that's why we start to see a lot of draws, we start to see a lot of repeated battles. And again, to me, it's super funner to just be able to go in and just say, okay, we're doing a 3G, we want to do a fast tournament, fast battles. Here are my 3, bam, 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 your 3, bam, 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 let's battle, right? And then we'll score points, and then we'll see who has the most points, and then it can either advance us, or we can do a Swiss style at the end and say, well, people that have the most points will go into top 4. And like I mentioned in my other video, you can do quick tiebreakers, where it'll just be like, okay, we'll just secretly pick one bay at a time, and then whoever gets the first clear win will advance, right? And the other one gets eliminated. So to me, that's even more exciting because, again, you get to bring like a combination you really believe in, and they'll have a good chance, whether it's, attack versus defense versus balance, whatever, and they'll just, again, have more excitement, So I definitely recommend you take a look at my video that explains that format, and at the same time, that's why I believe that Dynamite Battle is going to be the best format for a long time. It'll be interesting to see if they do a 4th series sooner than later. But I think that Dynamite Battle has legs to grow. They could easily do another year. And I don't mean like remake all of these guys, but I'm saying maybe give us, again, some variants in forged discs without making something too crazy that weighs all of a sudden like 2, 3, 4, 5 grams above the rest. Just give us different shapes that could actually work and create different types of like movement patterns, or maybe a little bit more like defense or things like that. And same with the armor. And then maybe introduce us to other cores, because this is the first time that they're not, again, following an anime. So they can, instead of releasing an entire Beyblades, they could even just release like a set that has maybe like 2 or 3 cores. Maybe give us different recolors. Maybe give us, some collaborations. Give us like, actual themed Beyblades, not just by color, but like they do with Hello Kitty. That way people can still collect stuff, and maybe if it's, crossing over with some of their favorite anime properties, like that'll be awesome, right? But again, if they just start giving us different attack driver options, maybe they give us like layers based on Beyblades that haven't been seen in a long time. I mean, please, all I say is if Takara Tomy does do, let's say, BU for another year, don't give us another Valkyrie. You said this was the last, don't give us another Dynamite 1, 2, 3, like Dynamite Dangerous, like don't give us another one. Just give us something new. Stop giving us gears for Nexus. Maybe give us a new forged disc or 2. That way we can actually have frames, and then, give us a couple of options for that, right? So that's my my opinion. And again, I guarantee you, if anyone says like, oh, this is unbeatable combo or whatever, I guarantee you, and even with GT, I guarantee you I will have multiple combos that can defeat that said best combo, right? So again, Dynamite Battle in a nutshell, I think has like the most powerful innovations. We're still seeing bursts. We're still seeing knockouts. There's a ton of attack types that have not been explored. But again, watch my videos. And even Japanese players and stuff, you'll see a lot of bursts. You'll see a lot of KOs. So there's no way you can tell me that attack types are weak or have a serious disadvantage in the Dynamite Battle Stadium. It is the best balanced stadium, especially for Dynamite Battle, because it's large, 2 large knockout pockets, and there's plenty of room for mobility, for defense to dodge, stamina to take the center, and attacks to move around and just make powerful attacks. You know what I mean? So again, Dynamite Battle has been phenomenal. From a playing standpoint, again, it's been the most powerful, offering so much more diversity and great combinations. And again, even if you can argue that bearing dash, drift metal, and all that stuff, or metal drift, are dominating. Yeah, they're dominating for stamina based, but again, I have plenty of balance types and attack types that can defeat any setup here that you're gonna build with, drift, metal drift, Mobius, zone-Z, whatever. And even sometimes too, it's not a bad idea to maybe have one attack type that uses one of these more stamina drivers sometimes, right? But anyways, there you guys go. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Do you agree? And I hope you guys are actually, buying and getting all the Dynamite battles. I did again criticize this. I criticized Excalibur, but if you watch my Excalibur video, I still picked it up because, hey, I like Excalibur. I'm super happy with the sword launcher. And I found, Excalibur to be strong, a right attacker, and I have a good build for it. The only one I don't like is Belial 3 or Dynamite 3, the divine one. I think that one is still pretty garbage, but maybe I'll also try that out in the future. I know they released a new A gear for it with Achilles, but I don't know if that's going to really just propel that over the top. But I mean, if I am able to get my hands on it somehow, like cheap or whatever, for free, then I will play with it. But I don't really like the Bell character, and I don't really like the fact that, we had 3 versions of it in the same series, where this one is just such a good... I mean, I know what they tried to do. They made this the stamina defense type, right? And then they made the dangerous one the balance type, which I like for attacking and balancing. And then that last one, Dynamite 3, is supposed to be the pure attack type because they gave it a little bit of metal. But it's actually, I think, weaker than dangerous because it's hollower. The metal is insignificant, it's tiny. And dangerous has fully embedded rubber and it's heavier. You know what I mean? But I still like how they tried to do the 3 types. I just wish if they ended up having to do that, they should have made the third one a lot more different, So that's the only one I've avoided for now. I've gotten everything. Like I said, I ended up still liking Excalibur, although my favorite is always Buster. But there you guys go. All right, well, thanks so much for hanging out. Again, play Dynamite Battle, get as many of them as you can. They're going to be super collectible and rare one day for sure. Start getting doubles and, recolors of the ones you really like just to set aside and have as like trophy pieces. And then, have the ones that you always play with and battle with. All right, guys. Don't forget, Beyblade videos every Tuesday. And, of course, they'll be sprinkled out sometimes throughout the week. But 100% I'll be covering Beyblade regularly, guys. All right, thanks so much. Don't forget, keep your faith safe, prayers. Be thankful, spread that love, and always be positive. Peace.